Hi, I'm Miss Van Loan, and in this video, we're going to complete Module 3, Lesson 3, Independent Practice. Remember, I recommend using your math notebook and using your paper the normal way, which is called portrait. Please use a pencil, either number 2 or mechanical, and have an eraser handy. For the purposes of this video, I will be using a blank sheet of white paper, and it will be in the landscape orientation. That is because it works better for the video camera. I'm also going to be using pen because it shows up better on camera. All right, let's get started. Before we begin, I would like to point out the algebra tiles and method that I will be using to solve some of the problems in this lesson. So we have a positive x tile and a negative x tile, and they can be flipped to show the other side, positive or negative. Same thing with the ones tiles and the 5 tiles. The 5 tiles are 5 ones that are stuck together because it's easier to just move this around than to have 5 little ones trying to move them around, especially if you need 15, 30, 40 of them. We also have an x squared tile, which lines up with the x's on both sides to create an x squared, positive and negative. I will not be using the x squared in this one, so it's not listed here. To solve equations using these tiles, I will be using an equation mat. An equation mat is basically a space that has been divided into 2 sections with a double line down the middle to represent an equal sign. An equation mat helps us solve equations using algebra tiles. For example, if I had x on one side and 2 on the other side, this would represent x equals 2. It's kind of like the balance in the example that you saw in this lesson, in the video from Khan Academy. The algebra mat to help us see how to solve an equation. For example, in this equation, I would have 2x plus 4 equals, this is the equal sign, x minus x plus 2. And my goal is to get to the point where I have x on one side and some numbers on the other side, so I know exactly what x equals. We can use the same rules that we've been using all semester to solve this. For example, a positive x and a negative x make a 0 pair, and those can be taken away. We have 2 positive here and 4 positive here. When we have 2 of the same thing on each side, we can partner them up as on opposite sides of the equal sign and slide those off as well. If they're on the same side, they need to make a 0 pair. If they're on opposite sides, they have to be equal. Now, to move to the other side of the equal sign, all you have to do is flip. So you just take it and flip it over. So now I have 2x's is equal to negative 2. At this point, we divide it. I've got 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and so if I divide it by 2, 1x is equal to negative 1. I've just divided everything that I had by 2. Let's say I had 3 x's on this side and 6 negative 1's. Well, in this case, I would divide it by 3, and each x would get an equal amount. So I divided, let's make that so you can see them all. So I divided it into 3 sections. So 1x is equal to negative 2. Those are the basics for using algebra tiles with an algebra mat, an equation mat, in order to solve equations. I will be demonstrating that on some of the problems in this lesson. So this is Module 3, Lesson 3, Independent Practice. 2x minus 7 equals 23. I'm going to get this set up on the equation mat. Okay, I have 2x plus 7 equals 5, 10, 15, 20, 1, 2, 3. 2x minus 7 equals 23. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip to get all the ones on one side. And then we've got 2x's, and now we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So I have 2x's equals 30. I can divide this up evenly into two groups. So I have 1x equals 15. Both of my groups are divided evenly, so 1x equals 15. Let's go ahead and show how to do this by writing it out algebraically. We're going to put the double line down the middle, and the process of flipping is the same thing as when we write plus 7 plus 7. So now 23 plus 7 is 30. 2x equals 30. Now I need to divide this into two groups because I have two x's. So we'll divide by 2, and I wind up with just 1x is going to be equal to 15. And there's my answer. Number 2, 3x over 4 is equal to 20. This one is a little bit different because we have a fraction, and it's not so easy to represent fractions with algebra tiles. But if we use the same principle, if we have this thing being divided by 4, then we can multiply by 4 on both sides to get rid of it. We're using the inverse operation. So if this is divided by 4, we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. That will cause that to be canceled out, and then 20 times 4 is 80. So now we have 3x equals 80. Remember what happens if we have 3 x's, or a certain number of x's, on one side of the equation mat. We're going to divide into that many groups. So now let's divide by 3. And we'll have x equals 80 divided by 3. Unfortunately, that's not going to divide out evenly. So let's write 80 divided by 3, and let's double check what that's going to be. 3 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. We have 2 left over. We'll bring down the 0. Now we have 20. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. And we have a 2 left over. And we're going to start getting a repeating decimal, which makes sense because it's being divided by 3 and it doesn't work out evenly. But let's just put remainder 2, and we'll make it a mixed number. So x is equal to 26 and 2/3. For parentheses, x minus 9 equals 28. All right, let's try to use my equation mat for this. When we have parentheses, we're going to treat it like sets. So I have 4 sets, or 4 groups, of x minus 9. Okay, here we go. I have 4 sets of x minus 9 x minus 9, x minus 9, x minus 9, x minus 9 equal to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 6, 7, 8. So that's what my equation said. 4 sets of x minus 9 equals 28. So let's start moving through the motions here. So basically what I'm doing on this side is I'm distributing. So now I'm going to have 4 x's, and let's put these kind of in order here. 4x and 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36 negative ones, which makes sense because 4 times 9 is 36. So now I have 36 negatives. At this point, now that we've distributed, actually let's go ahead and write that down. We'll kind of do this at the same time. So I distributed, and now I have 4x minus 36. I like to put the double in there to separate the equation, just like I have on my equation mat. It helps me remember. So now I can take all these ones and flip them to the other side and have just the x's on one side, which is exactly what I want. I want the x's all by themselves. Now I have 4 x's equals 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 36 positive ones plus 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28 positive ones. So that looks like this. I'll bring down this 28, and now I flipped it. The 36 flipped and became positive 36. So I have 36 and 28. So let's see what that equals. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, and 4, 64. So I now have 64 on this side. 6 and 8 is 14, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that checks out. Both ways that I do it work. So, and then I have 4x left on that side. Exactly what we see here. So now let's divide it into groups of 4. It might not work out evenly, so we'll see. And that did work out evenly. Very cool. So I have 5, 10, 15, 16. 5, 10, 15, 16. 5, 10, 15, 16. 5, 10, 15, 16. So 1x is equal to 16. Let's do that on the paper. It checked out. Awesome. Let's do number 4. 5x plus 4.1 equals 19.6. Now, there's a really easy way to not have to deal with the decimals. I mean, you could always deal with the decimals, but I like to get rid of them. So watch this. This is a really great trick. There's only one decimal place here and one decimal place here. Remember, this is the tenths place. So if we want to get rid of one decimal place, remember we can multiply by 10. So we can multiply every term by 10 and it doesn't change the value. Just like when we divided by 4, we're still finding out what 1x equals. So we can multiply everything by 10 to move that decimal once and get rid of decimals. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply by 10, multiply by 10. Let's put our equals sign in there and multiply by 10. So 5x times 10, if we had 5 x's and we're just making everything 10 times as many in our equation mat, remember I'm thinking of this like the equation mat, then now we have 50 x's. I can't actually show you that because I don't have that many tiles, but that would be a pretty epic problem to put out 50 x's. All right, so 4.1 times 10, we're just going to move the decimal once and have 41, and that was positive. And then 19.6 times 10, we'll just move the decimal once and have 196. All right, so thinking about our equation mat, we're going to take that 41 and flip it, meaning we subtract 41 because it was positive, so now it's going to be negative over there. 6 minus 1 is 5. 9 minus 4 is also 5. And then we have a 1. So 196 and 41 negative tiles, remember we flipped them, leaves us with 155 tiles once we do the zero pair thing. So now 50x is equal to 155. So now we're going to divide by 50. We know what 50x is equal to 155, so we want to know what 1x equals. Divide by 50, divide by 50, and we're going to have x is equal to 155 divided by 50. Well, I already know that 150 divided by 50 is 3. And so then I'll have 5 left over, right? 150 divided by 50 is 3. 3 times 50 is 150. So if I have 155, then I'll have a remainder of 5. So this is 3 and 5/50ths. 3 and 5/50ths, but that can be reduced because they can both divide by 5. So divide by 5, divide by 5, and we get 3 and 1/10. Well, 1/10, remember as a decimal, that's just 0.1, so this is 3.1. So x equals 3.1 or 3 and 1/10. You could put it either way. I wanted to put 3.1 because that's what's on the answer key, but they mean the same thing. All right, let's do number 5. 9 minus 4x equals negative 11. Fabulous. I can do this on the equation mat. Let's do it. So I have 9 ones minus 4 x's equals 11. All right, 9 ones minus 4 x's equals negative 11. Okay, so, well, let's rearrange this so that I can take these ones and flip them to the other side. So, flip. Now I have 4 negative x's is equal to 5, 10, 15, 20. So let's write that down. But now I have negative x's. I don't want to know what negative x's are. I want to know what positive x's are. So we've got a couple options here. But my favorite one for beginners is to just flip everything over. So let's do that. We'll take these x's and flip them to this side, and take these ones and flip them over here. Okay, I have 4 positive x's is equal to 20. Now I can separate them into groups. So 1x is equal to 5? Well, that seems pretty easy. Let's go write that down. And once we have that x is equal to 5, or 5 is equal to x, it doesn't matter which way you write it. So we can rewrite it x equals 5 so that it looks a little bit more standard. Let's do number 6. 2 sets of 5x minus 8 is equal to 14. And I know I've read that differently than how I've been reading things. I'll read it the other way. 2 parentheses 5x minus 8 close parentheses equals 14. But when we're thinking about our equation mat, we're going to have 2 sets of 5x minus 8. Let's go ahead and put that on the equation mat. Okay, I have 2 sets of 5x minus 8. So now I can start solving this. So first, I can put them back together and say I have 10x minus 16. So 10x minus 16 equals 14. So now let's flip the ones over here. And I have 14 plus 16, which really means that I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 10x equals 30. Well, if I have 10 x's and I split this up into 10 groups, and I have 30 over here, how many is each x going to get? I can't actually do it because my 5 tiles are stuck together, but each x is going to wind up getting 3 because 10 x's divided by 10, and then 30 divided by 10 would give me 3. So 1x equals 3. Let's go ahead and do that on paper. So I'm distributing, meaning that I'm going to have 10 x's minus 16. Remember, we got that with 14 over here. Then I flipped the negative 16 to make plus 16 on that side, and I wound up having 30. And then I had 10x left over here, and then I divided by 10 on each side to divide it into 10 groups with 1x each and 3 1s each. So x equals 3. Let's do number 7. Which number in the following equation is a coefficient? So the prefix here, co means with or in partnership with. Co means it's going to be a partner. Oops. So in our equation here, which is 19 equals 3/4 x minus 20, which number is in a partnership? Is it the 19? Is that in a partnership? Is it the 3/4? Is that in a partnership? Is it the -20? Is that in a partnership? Well, when I say it like that, partnership, rather than saying coefficient, I think it's pretty obvious that the one that's in a partnership is the 3/4, because its partner is the x. So 3/4 is a coefficient because it is attached to the x. The coefficient tells us how many x's we have. And then the x is the variable, and the other number that's left over is the constant, because we know exactly how much we have. So let's just say x is the variable, and the number by itself is a constant, because the constant is constant. It has a value. It's not going to change. But the x is the variable. It's what we don't know. It could change. It could be 5, it could be 50, it could be 1,000. We don't know what it is. We have to figure it out. So that's how that works. Number 8. What is the inverse operation of subtraction? Well, it's addition. Number 9. X divided by 7 minus 5 equals 2. There's a couple ways we could solve this. Remember before how I multiplied everything by 10? If you wanted to, you could multiply everything by 7 and then have x minus 35 equals 14. The other way to do this is to just start trying to get x by itself, and then we'll multiply by 7 at the end. And I think that's pretty easy because x is the only thing that has a fraction. So let's do that. Let's take this -5 and we're going to flip it to the other side. It's like when we add 5 to both sides, and then those would make a 0 pair and we'd get rid of them. So the shortcut is to just flip it. So -5 becomes +5, so we have 7 on this side, and then we have x divided by 7 on that side. Well, if x is being divided by 7, we need to use the inverse operation to get rid of that, which means we multiply by 7 to both sides. Or, if we had done it up here, we would multiply by 7 to everything. Every term would get it. Here, we've only got 2 terms, one on each side. So we're just going to multiply it by this and by that. So this cancels out, and we have x equals 49. We've got one more. Let's do number 10. 5/6 x minus 5/8 equals 3/4. Okay, remember how I was talking about multiplying everything by something? Well, what is the lowest common multiple of all these numbers? Well, 6 times 2 is 12, and 4 times 3 is 12, but 8 can't really multiply to get 12. So 6 times 3 is 18. 4 and 8 can't really do that. 6 times 4 is 24. 8 times 3 is 24. And 4 times 6 is 24. So we can multiply to get rid of these fractions using the lowest common multiple of 24. Now, I want to clarify, we're not trying to get a common denominator, we're trying to get rid of the denominators. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to multiply every term by 24. Oh, I need to do the circle, not the x. So I'm going to do 5, 6 times 24 over here. 5, 6 times 24 over 1, because it's a whole number. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So now I'm going to have a whole number because 1 is on the bottom. And 5 times 4 is 20. So this is 20x. Let's do the 5/8. And it's negative. Let's put the negative there so I don't forget. So 5/8 times 24. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So now it's a whole number because it's over 1 on both sides. Sorry about my dog making noise. 5 times 3 is 15. And it would be 15 over 1 as a whole number. So 5/6x times 24 is 20x. 5/8 times 24 is 15. Let's figure out what 3/4 times 24 is. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. And it would be a whole number because it's over 1. So that's 18. Now doesn't that look a lot easier to solve? Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and flip our negative 15 to the other side. And it is plus 15. So then I have 20x, 18 plus 15. 8 plus 5 is 13. 1, 2, 3. So that's 33. Now I can divide by 20 on both sides. Oh, I'm sorry. I usually write it for myself as a line like that, like a fraction, but I forgot I've been doing it this way. So divided by 20 on both sides. So 20 x's divided into 20 groups will give us 1 x in each group. 33 divided by 20. Well, I can pull out 120, one whole number, one whole 20, and I'll have 13 left over. So this is equal to 1 and 13/20. So x is equal to 1 and 13/20. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the algebra tiles, and if you'd like to see more of those, you can probably just YouTube algebra tiles and see how people solve equations with algebra tiles. I think they really help you keep track of the steps and make it a lot easier. Thank you guys. Have a great day.